Oh, hello. It's a beautiful sunny day. Let's talk. Before we start talking, look what my wife bought me yesterday. Yeah, not the Crocs. She's not a fan of the Crocs. Although they're a really cool collab between Hadley and Bennett and Crocs. So I got those sent through the post today as a hashtag gift. But she bought me some Nike camo trousers. Ooh, that's why you marry them. But anyway, onto the topic. I'm actually walking down towards going to get myself some more tattoos, some more vegetables. I'm going to get a lettuce today and a walnut on my wrist. Why not? I had a pear the other day and a raspberry. Just having a wonderful day. But one question I get a lot is, how did I start? Are you a professional chef? What do you do? Etc, etc. So I thought I'd just digress for a little bit while I'm walking along talking to myself. Whoa. So let's start with my past, shall we? First restaurant I worked in, I was 15 years old, 1-5. Wow. I was peeling potatoes, washing the dishes, doing that kind of thing. So yeah, the story goes that the person who was meant to be doing the starter section, so the cold section, slipped, hurt their back, and I had to step in. The only thing I knew how to do was peel potatoes and cook things. So I stepped in and had a great time. And then the next couple of jobs were working in catering companies. So I had a couple of local catering companies just doing stuff en masse for weddings, etc, etc. Had no formal qualification, just cracked on. And when I was about 19, I think 19, 20, I went to Ashburton Cookery School down in Devon, did a 4-week intense cooking course. I already knew how to cook. It was just kind of like understanding the basics of how to put things together, etc, etc. How to plan for a day, how to do your mise en place, all that kind of jazz. So then from there, after that 4-week intense cooking course, I went away, did a bit of travelling, all that kind of jazz, you know, found myself. And then I started working in restaurants in London. So the first one I started working in was Andrew Edmonds in Soho. Was there for 4 or 5 years as a kind of like a sous chef, kind of like works your way around, did all those kind of bits. Then I went to Floridita on Dean Street. Absolutely horrendous. The first place I worked at, about 30 chefs on a brigade, and I hated it. Too much pretentiousness, too much shouting, very aggressive, wasn't for me. So then I went up to a place in Tufnell Park, worked around, did a degree in photography at the same time, so did a digital photography degree. Came in handy later on in life, didn't it? And then at the same time I was working at a cookery school. So I did 5 years at a place called the London Underground Cookery School, where he taught people how to cook. It was like a 3-course dinner kind of style, very simple, but it was how to interact with people and cook and chop at the same time. Came in handy now. So after that, I started doing a bit of recipe development. On the side, I was doing consultancy. So it was all kind of like things were working out. Went and worked for 2 years for Joe Wicks, and that was the end of that. So then all of my skills kind of came together. I could teach, I could cook, I could write recipes, I could communicate. And I was like, why don't I start my channels? That's how I started my channels. Now here we are now. So in terms of formal qualification, am I a classically trained chef? Fuck no. Do I know how to cook? Yes. And all the questions I get is, how do you get better at cooking? Now, the way you can get better at cooking is not by learning how to chop fast and how to toss pans and hold hot things and be really cool, like all the old school books used to teach you. The best thing that you can do is eat things. So when you go to a restaurant that does like really, really good food and you're like, oh my God, that tastes amazing. It's one, because the chef has probably trained his palate over a long period of time and he knows how flavours work, how to balance things. That's why I talk about on my channel all the time, how to balance flavours. Any fucker can follow a recipe, but to make it taste good, you need to understand the small nuances of how flavours balance, and it doesn't have to be complicated. So as I said, all those things like your sweet, your savoury, your bitter, your sour, your acids, how do they all function together and how do they work in a dish? So the way I like to teach this is take a dish that you really enjoy, and try and break it down into where those flavours are coming from. So one of the easiest ones to think of is something like a fish taco. Like on the simplest level, you have like your fatty fish, which has got your fishy flavour, which may be a little bit simple. Then you always have a salsa. The salsa kind of brings heat or acidity. That just cuts through any kind of fat and makes this dish delicious. You could take it to lots of different levels. Do you want to have bitter notes? All of that kind of stuff. Other things that you can think about when cooking on the simplest level to make things amazing is textures, hard, crunchy and soft. Why do you have croutons with a soup, or why do you have a crusty bit of bread with a soup? Because otherwise, if you just have soup, it feels like you're on some kind of weird diet. So having something crunchy and delicious with it is super duper. So I suppose what I'm getting at, this is a bit of a ramble now, but I suppose what I'm getting at is, the lessons that you learn as you progress through cooking may not feel like they're ever going anywhere, but the world of food is so exciting. There are so many jobs that you can go and do. You can be a content creator for one. You can do recipe development for two. You don't have to be stuck in a kitchen doing 16-hour shifts like lots of people do, because that bit is really boring and mundane. But you may enjoy that side of things. That's totally cool. But you can go be a prep chef. You could be someone that looks after, say, equipment like KitchenAid. You could be a recipe tester for them. You go work on a yacht. You could go work in a chalet. You know, it's endless the opportunities of being a chef. So what I'm saying is you don't need to go and do massive amounts of formal training. Have some kind of formal training, get some skills under your belt, but you can train yourself at home. So you can eat, you can enjoy food. It's one of the most accessible things that we can do. So have a wonderful time. Okay, that's 5 minutes of me chatting absolute shazmagunta because I've had about 10 coffees. All right, have a wonderful day. Big boy, bad boy, bad boy, big boy.